For the past 5 years, I think about 4 years, I've had freewholesaling.com. We've had over 250,000 people sign up and embark in their wholesaling real estate journey. And in these 4 or 5 years, I've had a lot of people, and more than anybody else, and I'm not saying this to brag, but there hasn't been one person who has produced the most, I guess, quote, successful wholesalers than me and Rick. Not because I don't think we're the richest wholesalers of all time, but we're still the only ones that will teach you everything for free. And because we have the biggest course, and I believe it's the best information in wholesaling, we have the most testimonials. And this has created the largest case study of successful wholesalers in the history of this industry. And the really cool part about that is more people than ever send me their wholesaling real estate checks and say, Zach, thank you so much. You've changed my life. You teaching wholesaling real estate has changed everything. And from the 4 or 5 years I've been having these thousands and thousands and every day it's like 5 or 6 checks of people saying, thank you so much. And they send the check as proof, right? And from that data set of all those successful wholesalers, I've had this case study. And I always ask, how did you get the deal? What was the type of marketing? What was the list? What was the channel? What was this and that? And every which way. And I have found, and this is not a new revelation by any means, because even a year into this, I was seeing this. The most successful wholesalers, I've seen 80% of them have just only done 3 simple, quote, secret techniques to get their first deal. And what I want to do today is really share with you these 3 secret techniques so you know exactly, step by step, what these secret techniques are and what they are so you can do it. And the truth is 80% of all wholesalers pretty much that get their first deal only do these 3 things. Crazy, right? Only 80%, only these 3 things. And so I truly believe this is something you should really pay attention to and really something you should be doing, because the fancy PPC, SEO, PPL, this or that, and all these crazy, funky, junky, wonky type things. You get thrown this all the time, and these strategies, and this one is wholesaling on the MLS where everyone gets their first deal. No, okay. Guys and gals, you get pushed all these new strategies because they're here to sell you courses. Let me tell you the stuff that actually gets results. This is proven by data, proven by people that actually get wholesaling deals. So let's break this all down and let's share step by step what these 3 secret strategies are. Now, before I break it down, I do want to share some observations that I've personally found with these men and women that actually become successful, that actually start doing wholesaling deals and actually get really good results. And I think somewhere where a lot of you guys want to be at that point. These are some observations before we break down the 3 things. Number 1, most wholesalers that end up getting a deal, they do something called the 3-1-1 split. And this is a split that I've just basically shown you guys what to do. But a lot of people ask, Zach, what should I do with my time, right? Zach, I have 10 hours this week to wholesale houses. What should I be focused on? Because it's like, what do I do? They all get freaked out. And what I always say is just focus on a 3-1-1 split. And what a 3-1-1 split is for every 5 hours of work in wholesaling, you should spend 3 hours towards your marketing, like solely marketing. It should be for pulling lists, or calling, or talking to sellers, whatever it is. 3 hours strictly for marketing. Now, one of those hours should be spent on your acquisitions, your follow-ups, basically just talking to sellers in your CRM. And then that other hour should be spent finding cash buyers and doing your dispositions. Now, a lot of wholesalers really negate that last hour for the dispositions, and they always struggle, shocker, to go sell their wholesaling real estate deal. And so really, if you do 10 hours, what you should do is 6 hours towards marketing, 2 hours for your acquisitions, and then again, 2 hours towards your dispositions and your cash buyers. On top of this too, I have found that more niche, more success. So you want more money, you have to be more niched out with your lists. And what I mean by this is every wholesaler is doing the same thing. Every wholesaler is being pushed, to do this or pull a list basically from the same software and do the same thing. And you guys are being herded like sheep to go purchase this thing, and you just only wholesale with this. And if everybody has it, like, what's the point? It's not niched out. Like, it's not specific. And I've always found is when you go against the grain, but you do it the right way, you're going to get deals. And everybody's fishing in the same pond when really you can go in the ponds that have fish in them that no one else is fishing. And so really the more niched out you get, the more success in wholesaling real estate you're going to have. And so what are these type of niches? I've seen a lot of them. What I found is number one, niches like probates, digital bandit signs, the arrest record list, the fire damage property list, the water shutoffs, the evictions, tire landlord type list, right? I go on and on about this, but these are the specific lists that get results. These are the lists that you'll actually use to make money in wholesaling. If you start pulling lists like this, you're going to see a ton of success. Now, why, and this is going to be a fundamental thing you're going to hear me talk about, why do these niche lists work? This is a simple answer. It works because you don't want to do it. Let me repeat myself. These lists work because you don't want to do it. Now, I'm not calling you out. I'm calling the vast majority of beginners out, because when I tell you guys like a strategy, and this is not you, but most likely you, subconsciously you hear this new thing and you say, I don't want to do that. It sounds like a lot of work. And that's just human nature in general. But when we talk about 1,000 wholesalers getting this industry, and everyone cries about how all these new wholesalers coming in, and most of them are terrible, they are going to do the thing that's the quickest, easiest, and simplest. They don't want to do anything that's just slightly difficult or something that they can't watch their TikTok all day, right? They don't want to work too hard. And they're going to go for the software, number one, pull the list, maybe hire a VA so you don't have to do anything, and that autopilot type thing. And if you go against the grain and do the things that most people aren't willing to do or want to do, you'll do well. And so you're going to find a theme here of how most people get deals for doing the things that most people don't want to do. It's 80% of the success is in this. So it's crazy. So let's talk about number one of my 3 secret techniques. Number one is going to be cold calling. Now, I don't think this is a surprise. I don't think this is a shocker to anybody, but cold calling works. Now, the reason that cold calling works is because it's hard. It is not easy. Cold calling is not a strategy where any Joe Schmo can go out here and start doing it just off the dome, right? You're going to need a script. You're going to need somebody just to tell you some basics of what to do. But most wholesalers get deals by doing this because it's the quickest way to a deal. And for the vast majority of people that dedicate at least 8, 9, 10 hours into doing this, their skills talking to sellers are absolutely amazing. They go through this trial where they've gone through this rigorous training kind of where when it comes to talking to a seller, they're smooth. They're real easy to talk to and they get results. And it's really hard for me to find somebody who cold calls 10 hours a week that doesn't get a deal in a year. Like it's almost impossible for me to find these type of people because if you just put in the work in cold calling, like the results always follow. And it's all about obviously cold calling the right lists. We kind of talked about in the beginning here, niche lists work really well. Huge proponent for niche lists. I love niche lists and I'm always going to talk about them because the vast majority of wholesalers aren't calling these lists. And if you're somebody that can call these lists, you're going to get results. And so cold calling is going to work because most people don't want to do it. And I'm just being honest. I'm not saying you. I'm talking about just the vast majority. They don't want to do it. They don't. And I don't think I'm asking much for 10 hours. A lot of you guys are putting in 20, 25 hours, and I love it. I love to see the grind. I love to see the hustle in here. But most people aren't willing to do it. And the truth is this business works if you're willing to do just the extra mile. And I've said this last week, and I will continue to say this until it gets into everybody's brain. But the bar to success in wholesaling has never been lower. If not overall, but if you look at the vast majority of new wholesalers coming in, they're not willing to just put in 15 hours a week or 10 to 15. They're not. They're willing to put in an hour a day at most. Like a lot of these new TikTok youngins, the young ones in here. And so if you're just willing to consistently put in a couple hours a day, maybe 3, you can really start getting some traction in here. And then you start putting more hours in and you'll get really cool results. But just do the things most people are willing to do. And of course, we have a free wholesaling course. It's called wholesaling.com. We teach you how to wholesale for free. But number one is going to be straight up cold calling. Now, what is number two? You've probably heard this before, but just plain old drawing for dollars. And it's kind of crazy to think, but drawing for dollars works because you heard it again. It's a list nobody else can get. And it's an earned list. That is a category I call it. I call it the earned list. But this is a list where if you're starting out and everyone and their mom is spending $4 or $5 grand a month in marketing, and they're doing mail and radio ads and TV ads and these PPL companies, the SEO, the Facebook ads, and and then they do all this crazy marketing. You can get a list that none of those guys, even if they pull the big software type list, can get, because it's a list that you have to earn. You just can't pull it. You just can't spend money to get it. It's a drawing for dollars list. And I talked about this last week on the Flip Lyric channel, but ROT is going to be a very key important metric. And drawing for dollars works really good for those people that need a high ROT. And so what is ROT? ROT is, again, return on time. This means how much time, how many hours do you put in this business for you to actually get a wholesaling deal? And for a lot of people out here, I get it. You work in full-time jobs, you have kids, you have people you have to take care of. You can't put in 60 hours this week into wholesaling. You might only have 5 or 6 or 7. It's hard. It's hard. And I make fun of those guys out here, that only put an hour in, but maybe all you can put is an hour or 2 hours. If you're in that crazy case, those people that only spend an hour, they only do it for easy stuff. But if you only have an hour, 2 hours a day, you're going to have to dedicate that to something that has the best return on your time. Which means if you're putting 8 hours in this week for wholesaling, we need to know what in these 8 hours that we can do to give us the highest chance, the highest percent rate of success. And what I've personally found is drawing for dollars is hands down the best one. You put your headphones in, you can listen to your Zach Bryan, Taylor Swift, Mariah Carey, whatever you like, and you can kind of just find motivated sellers with your headphones. I don't know any other crazy marketing tactic or struggle that you don't have to put in a lot of work relative to cold calling or something. You get deals. But cold calling is where a majority, I would say a lot of people from what we do get deals. But what I could tell you is drawing for dollars it takes the cake. I'd rather draw for dollars than cold call because, think about it. Putting 10 hours into cold calling is way more brutal than putting 10 hours into drawing for dollars. It's like me looking at 10 hours of running versus 10 hours of weightlifting. Give me 10 hours of weightlifting, okay? Give me that over the 10 hours of running. And so drawing for dollars is, you get the same results, but it feels like less work. You are doing the same work though, but it feels like less work. And in my opinion, that's a big win. And again, it works because most people aren't willing to do it and they don't want to do it. Now, the next part here is very controversial. It's something that I don't think a lot of people think about, but it works. It's called direct mail. And I'm not just talking about postcards, okay? So hear me out for a second. Any type of mail, any type of just physical, tangible marketing medium gets wholesaling deals. And a lot of people get deals by doing this. And then what do I mean by this, right? What's this marketing? And so it's these, right? It's reverse drawing for dollars, the sticky notes I talk about, heck, even postcards we do at mailingmastery.com, right? Or bandit signs, digital bandit signs work well. But the majority of these people are going to be people that put sticky notes out on properties. And I've told everyone to be doing this. But if you put sticky notes out in houses and just put something like, hey, this is Zach. I had a quick question about your property. Please give me a call back. You're going to get deals. You're going to get leads. You're going to get people calling you, and you're going to get inbound deals. You can go out here and send direct mail pieces. You can send probate letters. At wholesaling.com, we have probate letters. We found a lot of people that, again, I think this is a big theme. Your why you're getting into wholesaling is because you're working a job and you don't get out of the job. But unfortunately, you got kids. It's hard to spend all this time. You need to do something that has a good ROT. And so a lot of people send postcards out. They'll send mail out. They'll send bandit signs out. And heck, I'll add this in here, digital bandit signs. They'll put digital bandit signs in here, and it works well too. And so if you're willing to put these sticky notes out, if you're willing to put bandit signs out, postcards, you'll find deals doing this. And this one was the big shocker. I wasn't really expecting to see a lot of these, but a lot of these people were putting sticky notes out. Because if you really look at a sticky note, especially if you write something like, hey, this is Zach, I have a quick question, please give me a call back. It's the same thing as spending 60 cents on a postcard. It's a piece of tangible marketing material that the goal is to get a call on. That's the goal of it. And if you put 100 out of these, like in a day, you are going to get, and it sounds crazy, but you're going to get like $60 worth of marketing out there. Pretty good. I think that's pretty good, right? And so if you're going to go out here and send 100 out, you're going to get a lot of good deals. You're going to get leads. You're going to get just people reaching out to you. And I feel like that's a good point. And so if you send like 100 sticky notes out in a day, that's like $60 of marketing. If you do that for 7 days, that's like $420. That's like $2,000 a month of marketing that maybe cost you $100 in gas. $2,000 of marketing for $100 like that. It's an amazing deal too. And so the way people get deals are not, I don't think they're unconventional. A lot of people are going to call this old school marketing, but when everyone is shifting into one direction, you're going to find it's really weird when you actually look at successful wholesalers. Majority of them don't get their start doing crazy like lists, right? Like, so they're not spending $7 or $8 grand in the marketing like they make you feel like on every guru video type thing, right? They're doing old school tactics that you don't really have money. You got to do kind of old school stuff to get deals, and you get the leads. And so many wholesalers that they get so confused of how do I get started and do I have to spend all this money? And again, you don't have to spend all this money in wholesaling. The majority of successful wholesalers in this business just do the regular old school stuff that gets results. And if you're willing to be that special, crazy type of person who goes and drives for dollars, calls, put a sticky notes out, you'll get deals. And so I talk about this all the time, and I will continue to keep talking about this. Successful wholesalers, they get deals by doing the work.